It's Thursday morning, and that means it's time for another adventure in American Truck Simulator. Well, maybe not an adventure, but hey, that's okay. We're back, and this time we're in the Mack R. So today we're taking a Mack R across Cabbage Hill, or Dead Man's Pass. And this follows the trip I did earlier in the week, where I took a different truck over Cabbage Hill. You know, I kind of like the Mack R. So I'll put links in the description below of the sort of main mods, but this is Harvin's Mack R with the Outlaw Rusty Skim and Outlaw Rusty Wheels. And we're using the Mack Thermodyne engine from the Steel Productions Mack engine pack. Not going to put a commercial, well, I might put a commercial in for that later on, but hey, who's to say? So we're using let's just say an old school engine. It's rated at 250 horsepower. It has a whole 701 foot-pounds of torque. That's about half a fairly low-end engine of today's generation. But it's a fairly small light truck. It's the medium length wheelbase machine this time. And this Mack is configured with a Mack direct drive 12-speed transmission. It's got a 387 final drive. The long and short are, we are gearing limited to about 65 miles an hour in top gear at the governor. So 55 miles an hour is about 1800 revs. The thing is, you need all those revs for this little low-powered engine to perform. And we're talking about Cabbage Hill here. Cargo today is 17,500 pounds worth of forklift trucks. I imagine most of that comes from the battery. So, let's make like a tree and roll on out of here. Today I'm driving using my controller, which is my normal. I've got the sequential manual set up, so to block shift gears I've got a double tap. And with a 12 speed and with such short gearing, there's going to be lots of gear changes here. Now I've driven this Mack a little bit, driven this transmission a little bit, so I'm more or less in practice. I will occasionally fluff a gear change, but let's face it, I'm not a trucker in real life. I'm going to fluff those gear changes. And you might think that with such short gearing, I think first is good for 3 miles an hour. With such short gearing, you wouldn't make many mistakes. Well, actually, it's quite easy to, well, it's quite tempting to short shift. Because if you short shift with this load behind me, it's not that big a deal. It's only 17,500 pounds, as opposed to maybe 40,000 pounds, but you lose a lot of power. Now, Macks are known to have great output at the road relative to the quoted engine output number, and it's a wonderful grunty engine to work with. You just have not that much to actually work with. So I don't think this will be, how should I say, it's not going to be a disastrous trip. But like now, moving off from rest, what gear do I use? Second, third, first? First a bit low, but second's probably about right. Okay, well, it looks like I can go now, which is good. You see, I only just snuck through and the light's gone to red already. And there's so many gear changes and I'm only doing 15 miles an hour. We're in top gear at quite a low speed, and then it's just keep revving the thing out. So yeah, I think this will be a fun trip. Not be a quick trip, but I don't expect it to be. And mileage wise, I might get 6 miles per gallon. I'm not going to plan on cruising at 65, I'm going to aim for 55. At some of these hills, they're going to test the engine. So we'll see how well this goes. Talking of how well things goes, there's a bit of background noise tonight as I record tomorrow morning, as you hear, because the neighbour's dog has decided to bark at I think the air molecules moving around over his or her head. I'm not entirely sure, but barking at pretty much everything. So as I've said, we're using the Mack Thermodyne engine This is the 250 horsepower version. I do have a lower powered version in the Mack engine pack, but I really didn't feel like trying it. This particular Thermodyne is voiced using the sound that comes with the truck. Engine-wise, it is an inline 6. It's 11 litre capacity. I think it's 673 cubic inches, so maybe that's 11.05 or something like that. Governor is 2100 RPM, and P-torque arrives at, I think it's the fairly usual 1200 RPM, but 700 foot-pounds, so it's not much, and it's producing close to full torque at higher engine speeds. The engine, it does produce maximum power just below the governor, so you kind of need to rev it out if you want to keep the thing rolling. But as I'm finding, like now, it's not accelerating that quickly. It's also not losing speed. Yeah, and I'm struggling with steering. That's a kind of short truck syndrome. Not the same as a short girl syndrome. That's going to get me in trouble with Sandy, but she's not narrating today's videos, so I should be okay. Mack manufactured the Thermodyne. It has a fairly short production history in the context of some truck engines. It was made from 1953 to I think 65 or 66, and it was replaced with a newer engine. It saw service in the Mack B, I think it was the B, the C series, and of course the Mack R, which we're in today. And it's not a bad engine. It's a little lower in output. It's certainly fun to hoon around in, although hard to hoon around with 250 horse and 700 foot-pounds of torque. But all said and done, we're cruising along at 55 quite happily here, and I can hear that we're going up a gradient every now and again. And yes, I'm being overtaken by faster traffic, but this white truck, he's doing 65 and I'm doing 55. I could aim for 65. I think it'll reach 64 before it bounces off the governor. I just don't need to. And then there's Cabbage Hill. And I talked a bit about Cabbage Hill in my last video. It is, it's in Oregon. It's in the Blue Mountains in eastern Oregon area. Interstate 84, I just downshifted a little too aggressively there. Oops. It's most notable for a sort of 6 mile gradient of 6%. And it's considered the most dangerous stretch of road on I-84. Is it a challenge? Yes. It's a challenge in the wet, and I imagine the snow and the ice, although I can simulate that in the game. I'm not doing so here. I mean, when I arrived at my destination in Ontanero last night in the game, it was raining, and thankfully it's dry today. That certainly helps. So, yeah, it's a long, steep hill, but I'm a little bit, maybe overwhelmed isn't the term. This truck is coping great with this. Maybe I should have taken a heavier cargo. Oh well. That's not so bad. Yeah, I just couldn't resist putting in a Steel Productions Mack engine pack commercial in there. If you're just joining me, you've missed out on all the exciting dialogue so far. We've pretty much arrived at my destination, so I'm going to drop out of accelerated time and let's attempt the difficult parking today. Okay, that doesn't look too difficult. I mean, it's 90 experience points, but does that mean it's that hard? If you're familiar with the game, you'll know that sometimes you go for difficult parking and it's not that difficult whatsoever, and sometimes it is like, where's the turkey grease, lad? It ain't gonna fit otherwise. So we see how well this works, but it looks a little tight. I guess we'll find out. And if you're not so familiar with the game, when you arrive at your destination, you've got a choice of 2 or 3 options. Actually, you can configure this. You can just automatically default for the challenging parking, the lazy parking, or the no parking whatsoever. And in this case, I've gone for the, let me choose which one. The difficult parking is pretty much as it's described. By the stock game, you don't get this with doubles, triples, or anything else. If it's a single trailer, you're open to it. So in this case, we've got to back it into a spot that's a little snug. Now, I think I can more or less turn the thing round. I mean, logically, I should have pulled in forwards and then backed it around that great big U-bend, that kind of building, but that does seem like hard work. It's a fairly short truck. I mean, how hard can this be? Well, I may have to shunt it forwards a few times. But then, you wouldn't be here if it weren't for the amusing parking escapades, right? Yeah, I figured. Well, I'm not going to exclaim beautiful, but that parking went much better than I thought, given the limited space I've got. But the Mack R is nicely maneuverable, so yeah, that works for me. Right, shut the thing down. Let's see how well we did. Drum roll, please, everyone. Okay, 201 miles and 32.3 gallons, so that's just over 6 miles per gallon. I'm happy enough with that. In fact, quite an uneventful trip really, but none the worse for it. Hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, you know what to do. You can subscribe for more videos, more of the same. I don't always take my trucking very seriously, lots of stuff blows up, but I do take my engine packs nicely seriously. Anyway, hope you had a good time. Keep the rubber side down, keep the blue whales a singing, and I'll see you the next time. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Goodbye.